and welcome to our stream today. I am very, whoa, that was weird. Oh, you know what, that's funny. Sorry, I got sounds coming out of everywhere. Hold on a second. My apologies. There we go. Oof. All right, sorry about that. Mike doesn't like when I do stuff like that. So anyway, good morning. And we are here live today with my good friend, Adam Clark, and my other good friend, Mike Washburn. And I am super excited to have Adam on, as Adam's going to be showing us some cool stuff with Blockbench, which is a free download and allows you to, in a very easy manner, create your own Minecraft skins. So my suggestion is, while we're gearing up here, go over to blockbench.net and download it, and you could make your skin right along with us as we go. And and gosh, some of the other stuff Adam's probably going to show us blow your mind. So I am just continually amazed at what people can do in Minecraft, and I just, I think it's awesome. So anyway, and we have Immersive Minds here watching, as well as my buddy Espion, star Rocket League player for William Adden. And anyway, without further ado, take it away, Adam.
All right. Okay. So yeah, Blockbench. Let's start there. So I think, well, I'll tell you what. Let's start with what we're going to be ending up making at the end of the day. So over here we have Minecraft, and it's the Bedrock edition of Minecraft. And on the right-hand side, no matter what version you play on, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your console, or whether it's on your PC, you're going to end up with a little kind of character over here. And this is our little cat cop, and it's been made by one of my sort of students who's making skins for us at the moment. And we can edit our character, and we can change our character to whatever. We can either do things that are downloaded and kind of bought for us, and you have to do that, unfortunately, if you're on one of the consoles. So because of the way consoles work, you can't get external files into them. Okay, they're kind of enclosed systems. So that's a kind of a disappointment to everybody. It's like, oh no, what do you mean I can't get my own skin on my Switch? Well, I'm afraid you can't. Okay, it's a closed system, so you can't do that. But you can on an iPad or like any kind of tablet form of Bedrock, or your PC, for example. Here we are. So, and the way to do that, because it's funny, it's a bit of a faff, to be honest. So here we are, and you press on your profile, and you press edit character, and you go to own. Now it's a bit counterintuitive if you ask me, owned. But if you press down on owned, you open up this, and you can see the kind of skins packs I own. My gosh, I do love skin packs. But you can go right up to the top and press import, and that will open up. And then another thing says choose your own skin, and you press that, and that's where it opens up a dialog box where you can kind of open the skin that you're going to create. And that's what we're going to do now anyway. Okay, so I'll just cancel that. So Blockbench. So are you following along, Steve?
I am.
Okay. So let me close Blockbench and start up again, actually, because it starts up. And if you, like me, you've had a fair recent files, it should look something like that. But if not, you're probably going to get on the left-hand side some options. And Blockbench is really good for not only making skins, but it's also good for Java block items. You can do modeling with it. You can create a Bedrock model. You can mod entities. But what we're after is down here, skin, or down here, model without restrictions for Unity, etc., which is kind of cool. So it's a very powerful game making tool. So we're going to click on skin, and we get this other dialog box up now, which is the skin is Steve. We could create a cow skin if we wanted to, but we're going to stick with Steve for now. And we've got a resolution option here as well. So here are the options: 16, 32, 64, 128. I'm going to go for 32 because that's what in terms of it's a slightly higher resolution. And Bedrock will accept that without too much fuss. So it'll accept the smaller one and the larger one. So we're going to go for 32. because it just gives us a little bit more creativity. And we will confirm that, and what will give us a blank texture. So here's our skin, okay? And if we can left click outside of the model to rotate it around and look up and down and round about. If we right click, we drag our model, but it stays, it doesn't rotate in any way. Okay, so one of the kind of first things that you need to kind of learn with kind of modeling applications like this is how to move about, how to kind of see around stuff. The zooming in that I'm doing there is with using the little roller on the back of my mouse, so I can kind of zoom in and zoom out. So this is quite useful just for sort of navigating, and I recommend everybody to have a little play when you're first starting these things out, because it will come in useful later on. So let's take a look around the UI in this kind of environment that we're in. We can see we've got several things that look like painting tools and look like kind of other kind of instructions. So on the far left-hand side, at the top left-hand side, we've got the kind of the kind of unraveled skin. So this thing up here is what our skin looks like as a flat object. And when we actually export it, eventually it will turn out like this, and this will be a PNG. And PNGs are really good files because they've got a high resolution, but also PNGs have an alpha or a transparent layer, so you can kind of see through them, and that's going to be revealed later on. So we can have 2 layers within our skin pack. Below it is the actual skin down here. It says Steve. Funny enough, PNG, and we've got a little save icon down here as well. So if we want to save it, if we press the icon, we can kind of find a space to save that icon. We can kind of save it anywhere we like. So find somewhere, save it, and then that's it. You're away. You can also at this point, if you want to, save your project or save project and call it something and save it somewhere sensible, just in case your computer crashes or something happens and all that hard work has gone to waste. You want to kind of set up your projects now. So save that somewhere sensible. And once you've done that, let's have a look around the rest of our desktop. So we've got our model, and it looks pretty good. We've got 2 eyes that tell us that is the front of the model. We can see around it and stuff. And on the right hand side down here in folders, we've got the body parts. And we can open those folders up, and we can see we've got a head and a hat layer. And the hat layer has got a little eye icon, and that is the visibility is scrubbed out. So if we put that on or off, we can see that we've got 2 layers. And we've got 2 layers in everything: the body, the right arm, bunk, the left arm, bunk, the right leg, and the left leg. So we can kind of see we've got all these areas. Now, when we export this in Bedrock Minecraft, like in Java version, you used to be able to take your hat off. It gave you the option to have it on or off if you wanted to. In Bedrock, you have not got that option. You've always got that second layer always on all the time. So it might be useful to start off with our first tool is like, let's look at the delete tool for a start. So I'm gonna select my hat layer up here. I'm gonna go up here. We've got a paintbrush, a paint bucket, an eraser, a draw shape, something that says copy and paste, and a color picker. So I'm gonna go to eraser. I'm gonna zoom into my head, and I'm just gonna start scribbling around like this. So you can kind of see me deleting some of the top layer. And you can see that the results of that are immediately replicated in up the top on my top left-hand UV as well. You see that? Okay, so I'm going to start scribbling. It's going to be a complete mess to start off with.
So this is actually removing blocks.
Removing texture, yeah. Removing each of these little blocks is a pixel.
Yes.
And we're just uncoloring it, if you like. there we
by
go.
literally removing it so that there's nothing there, like it's not being replaced by a certain color. It's
No,
being
it's
replaced
just
by,
it's a
because you
transparent
can
layer.
have like hats that have like
Yes.
layers
Yeah.
other than just a straight up square.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do to make my life a little bit easier is because I need to do the underneath of his chin and stuff like that. So I'm going to just get rid of the body and the arm and the left arm and the right leg, and I can make the folder group invisible. Okay. And I'm also going to at the moment I'm just doing one pixel at a time, which is a bit laborious, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna change my brush size. I'm gonna click and drag it right, so I've got a nice big brush, and now I can kind of quickly delete the whole of the hat. We're gonna make a hat first. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna quickly delete all this stuff and make our first cool hat. Okay, so now we should have a nice head with no extra layer on. That's completely deleted over there. And I'm going to go back to my paintbrush now. And I'm going to sort of say, okay, so paintbrush. Now, what kind of hat do we want? Well, I'm going to do, I don't know, like a straw hat or something like that. Okay. So to draw a straw hat, we're going to need some colors. And we've got a color picker on the right-hand top side. We've got a picker, we've got a palette, or we've got a bit of both. I tend to go for the picker to start with, and you've got your your tones, and you've got your color. I'm going to go for a kind of a yellow, orangey kind of color. And again, each brush, each tool has got a set of these boxes next door to it. So my brush has got a size, it's got an opacity, how transparent it is, and it's got softness as well. So I'm going to drag my brush down to kind of a 6, and we can kind of start painting literally on top of the head, well, on the hat layer. So I'm just going to do that. And then also, I think I want to just fill the whole of that in. Now we've got a little paint bucket here. The paint bucket has got, again, it's got, it can either do a face, cube, connected colors, or colors. We'll get to these things in a bit. We just need it to do face, so I can just click that and the whole thing is filled in. So there we go. So that looks pretty good. But for Minecraft skins, sometimes you think, well, you can kind of, if you want layers, you want to see different sort of layers. I might think, well, that's just like a big, big bowl on the top of their head. So what I might want to do is I might want to just have the outer layer as the rim of the hat. Okay. So we're going to go back to my eraser, and I'm going to start getting rid of the rim, and we'll do an underneath layer and an over layer. And I know I'm complicating it. I don't care. One of the nice things about this is, with a little bit of music, this can be quite therapeutic, kind of quite relaxing kind of thing to do. Another thing is, if you want to, I can click a pixel here. I can press Shift, and I can click a pixel, and it'll draw a line between the two. Let me demonstrate that really well. So if I pick this one up here and then pick that one down there, it draws a line between these two in whatever I'm doing, in this case, an eraser. If I want to undo that, I can just press Control-Z, or on a Mac, I think it's the Apple symbol and a Z. Okay, cool. So we're getting there. So I've got that Shift pressed down, and I can quickly delete different areas. Okay, so now I've got my brim, if you like, and I'm going to just knock my top hat layer off, and I'm going to just start painting. Oops. My bottom layer. Which is fun.
Now, question.
Yeah.
So I'm working on the hat as well,
Yeah.
and I'm just kind of making a hat around the dude's head. Now I think I'm on the right layer. Like I just have that layer selected, and I'm just drawing around. So when we go into Minecraft, this will look like it's got this red cap on?
Yes. Yes, on the outside layer. Yeah. And this is why it's important to test your test your stuff as well.
Yeah, but will it look like a hat in a sense versus? I mean, like it'll look like it's something on top of his head rather than just as if it were hair, or will it look like just like?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple of things we can do about that, and we'll talk about shading in a minute, because we can do things that shades a hat. Okay, to make it look like it's on top of your head. So there's some, and these are artistic techniques, that you would use in drawing and painting. So that it's these kind of techniques that kind of flow over from traditional arts into Minecraft. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I need to learn traditional art.
It's like, what do you mean traditional art? So that's where it is, and let's do that now, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a black color down here. I'm going to grab my paintbrush. I'm going to make it sure it's 1, and I'm going to get my opacity, and I'm going to go down to an opacity of 10. Okay, and then I'm going to press Shift and click underneath here, and this is a really simple technique, but it works a treat. So I'm just using a black shade underneath there. Let's increase it to about 20% and let's
just remind people at home what program are we using again?
So
folks joined late.
Yeah, so we're using an application called Blockbench, which is a great little application that allows us to create 3D assets for Minecraft, for other kind of video games, but also it's got a really neat way of kind of creating skin textures for Minecraft Bedrock really easily. So here we go. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, and we can kind of see.
Yeah, that looks good.
It looks good. It looks like a shaded thing. So let's just talk a little bit more about these things up at the top here. We've got Start, Edit, and Paint as kind of some subsets up here. Start takes us back to our starting position, which is a bit scary. So let's go back to Edit really quickly and Paint. So Edit will help us look at the model without any paint tools, but it has got manipulation tools, but we're going to leave them well alone. But it's useful kind of for seeing the grid. We can also kind of turn the grid painting off up here as well if we want to. The grid painting resembles each pixel that we are kind of coloring in over here. And if we were to take this into Photoshop, for example, we would see that each of these squares are individual pixels that we're changing the color of. So there's a little hat, and let's put this body all back together again.
And I have to apologize. I was answering a question there, and I kind of missed how you made the layer look like it's or is popping out further.
Oh, shaded. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about shading, and here as well we can kind of see we've got a little kind of so we've got if I get rid of his hat layer, I think we can see that underneath his hat layer I've darkened it a little bit. And the way I've darkened it is, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make him look like he's got shades on right now. Okay. Or bags under his eyes, because we're all a bit tired. Yeah. Okay, so there's in our paintbrush tool over here, I've picked a black color, a dark color. Okay, I've made my size 1, so it's just operating under 1 pixel, and the opacity is 20. You can even go down to 10 if you want, but I think 20 is pretty good. And then I paint underneath there, and of course I'm not painting pure black. I'm painting an opaque black over the top of the color underneath there. So this is a really good way of and you can kind of paint over the top and top like that, and you can kind of start almost. It's for me it's a bit like watercolors, where you're just sort of layering it over the top with a single color. Okay, so there we go. Bags under his eyes. He's looking a bit sorrowful for himself. Okay, so there you go. So you can also do that underneath here, where you can kind of paint over the top a few times, and you get a range of shades happening. which is amazing. What we used to have to do is we used to have to pick these colors individually. I used to have to go to my color picker, or I used to go up here and I used to have to choose kind of a bright yellow, and I think, right, I need a slightly shaded yellow, so I'm going to pick down here and then kind of paint the shaded yellow, and it would take forever. So normally you'd have to kind of, if you wanted to change the shade, you'd have to literally use the color picker over here rather than using an opaque color over here. So I'm just painting that. So this way you can just pick a black color, pick a nice low opacity, and then you're kind of shading it yourself all by yourself. So you just
you're blowing my mind right now.
Isn't that cool?
I was like totally like agonizing over different shades of the same color to shade my like jeans and hoodie on my thing, and I totally should have done that.
Do you know what I mean? One of the other great things is you can do like, even with this skin, this basic skin thing we've got here. Let's give him a sort of some creases, and it's really nice.
Chat's loving your baggy eyes.
And then also the softness. Like, okay, so it's quite hard edged pixely. So if we push the softness up, let's push it way up, and let's also push my size up as well. Then we can kind of just add softness.
Nice.
And it's just really, really gentle, kind of very creative, artistic kind of feel to it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Isn't it nice? So there we go. So yeah, there's tons of really weird things you can kind of. Let's have a little rosy cheeks over there like this. And again, it can go both sides, so it can kind of go across the corner.
Is it possible? I feel like I lost my hat layer. Like I made it. I might have hit X at one point, or oops.
Oh yes, if you do delete it, accidentally, undo it, and it'll come back. So this is a problem. This is like you might have been way back. This is one of the if I were to change one thing, it would be that cross would be over here, or it would be somewhere other than there, or it would be further away, because it's too close. It's too easy to kind of nip it out and it's gone.
Yeah, I think I meant to make it invisible, but okay. Live and learn.
All right. So where have we got to? Oh yeah. So let's put my hat layer back on my brim. And while we're at it, let's give him a mustache as well. So I'm going to go a slightly large. Let's give him a green mustache. On kind of a quite high opacity, but one or two like that. So it's gonna have that. Now full opacity. I want a kind of almost sour kind of green on top. Okay.
I Wear the Crowns wants to know if you're using a mouse or a stylus. It sounds like you're using a mouse.
Oh, I'm using a mouse, yeah. But I suppose, I don't know, kind of, I've never used it on like a Windows. I suppose you could. Be interesting.
Will the web app version of this work on any device, like a tablet?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh wait, there's the web app.
Yeah, you can use this on the web.
Okay, wow. That's actually what I'm doing. So if you look at my screen, like my screen is a Chrome browser. Like I'm doing it in Chrome.
Yeah. So, awesome. That looks amazing.
That's my hoodie.
So
I'm literally wearing that hoodie right now. It's the hoodie my wife hates and that I wear almost every day that it's clean.
So let's take this opportunity to test it out. So again, remember on the left-hand side we've got our textures, and we can kind of save our texture. And I'm going to go into Minecraft, and I'm going to, if we remember, we can, this is what Minecraft looks like. We can go to our profile. We want to edit our character. We want to look under the own tab. We want to go down to import. We want to then choose a new skin. And then it opens a dialog box. And then we can kind of, find out where we've put this. Mine was called Steve, I think. So let's put my date down here. And it's probably going to be Steve here. That looks about it. Press open. And you've got two options. So you've got the Alex skin, which has got thinner arms, which we're not using, or the kind of the Steve skin, which is what we're using. So that's it. And we're done. Once you've clicked that, it's done. It sort of says new skin. And sometimes my body wants to kind of go, press that again, but it'll just open another dialog box. So you just want to cancel that. And there you've created a skin, and you can kind of test it out. There it is. So we can go and play. Let's play in here.
With that classic green mustache.
I know, yeah. There we go. Press F5 if you want to kind of see what your kind of character looks like. And you can kind of start to look at, let's actually back up a little bit. If you take him to a back wall, then turn around and look down, we can get a bit closer. So Minecraft will, the camera will squeeze in behind the rocks behind there. So as I move down, it moves down and close to the character. My character came up, it would be even closer. So we get a kind of a real look there as well. So we can see that in the skin thing, we don't get a transparency layer on top. Skins aren't transparent. They don't have an opacity. They're either a full kind of color or none at all. So that's kind of something that I think you should consider. But the face looks pretty good. That kind of shading on his cheeks looks really fun.
I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, Adam, about I was just playing around more with that opacity tool, and I just realized that when you click, like if you have it set to like 10 opacity, like I have here, if you click on a square, it adds a little bit of darkness, but if you do it again, it adds even more.
It's additive, yeah.
So that's great because you don't have to mess with this, and switch the shade. You know, if you want to add texture, you just click on it again, and it adds more shade.
Yeah. So it's like it's akin to watercolors when you want to kind of add a light shade on top, and then you layer it and layer it and layer it, and it's great for shaded stuff. It's great. So let's show you a couple new tools, and let's just sort of go through the whole kit. So in the paintbrush, we've talked about, we've got our size, we've got our opacity, and we've got our softness. And our softness really describes, and softness doesn't really work with when you're on 1 pixel. Okay, softness only really works when you're on when you got 5 pixels, and you can kind of see the blobs of softness that appear around that. And that's really good for if you want to kind of create shade and stuff like that as well. Remember, I could click on the top elbow up here. I can press shift and I can go down to the bottom where his hand would be, or her hand would be, and I could click again, and it draws in a straight line. This happens when I press shift again, and I can kind of draw kind of colors in straight lines, which is really kind of fun, especially if you want to sort of get designing stuff. Okay, so it's going a bit jazzy for me, but there you go. I kind of like this kind of stuff. Change color. So we can kind of see. Pretty cool. All right. The paint bucket. Now, the paint bucket is actually a really, really powerful tool for several different reasons. So let's start with the first main one. It can change the color of a face of one of these cuboids, if you like, that makes up the body, whether that's the right leg layer. Remember, so I'm going to choose a red, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to click this left arm here, and we can see that we're changing the left arm layer. So if I were to turn that off, we can see the underneath layer is as it was. So remember that happens. And if we want to think, well, how do I want to use my eraser, we can get rid of part of the arm, so we can kind of see underneath it as well. So you can kind of create this 2-layer sections, and it looks really good. Okay, But again, what you might experience is like the body gets in the way. So don't be afraid, right? If you're working on one arm, for example, to get rid of the body, the right arm, the right leg, the left leg. So you're just working on one thing at a time, and that's going to make your life a lot easier in terms of designing. And again, you're gonna need to think about how you move about this space. So that might be a good way of making a t-shirt, for example. So in the left arm layer, we might want to kind of color this in. So I'm gonna have a vibrant pink arm. I'm going to use my paint bucket, and I can either do this. So I can paint one face at a time, or I can click this and I can say paint the whole cube fuchsia pink. Okay, and it paints the whole thing. I'll show you that again. Click and it paints the whole thing a kind of a fuchsia kind of color. Another thing we've got here is, say I've kind of got a like a tattoo on the arm. Now I don't know which way I'm heading, so let's just put my head back on. Got you. Say I've got a kind of a weird tattoo that I had done when I was in the Merchant Navy. So it's a kind of a little.
As we all have.
As we all have some, so we've got a little tattoo there. But I don't want to, I want to change the color of the arm, but I don't want to change the tattoo. So, because if I were to do that, if I were to go into my paint bucket now and I click it, it turns the whole thing blue. So I'm going to Z that. But I want to do connected colors. And I want to change the fuchsia to a nice green color. Okay. And I click that, it just changes the connected colors to that. So it maintains the blue tattoo that I had before. So that's a really nice tool. Another thing we've got down here, we've got connected colors, or we just got colors per se. So for example, let's go to the head, because I think the head shows off pretty good. And let's change our blue to a green. So when we click on here, colors that are the same color all change all together. Now, obviously, it's getting a bit mad here, but I want to demonstrate clearly what's going on in one fell swoop, rather than worrying about design. Bonk. So mine is turning fairly weird and jazzy, but there we go. So that's the paint bucket. You can change the face of a cube. You can change the whole cube altogether. You can change colors that are connected to each other, so it kind of almost flows through all those colors together. Or you can kind of choose a color range, and if they're all exactly the same range, they will change all at the same time. Okay. Let's put all this back together, and I'll show you my other tool as well. Okay, cool. We've also got a draw shape tool, and although there's a triangle, a circle, and a square, it's really only drawing triangles. Okay, but we have got size, and we have got opacity, which I think is quite nice again. So again, if you turn the opacity down, we'll choose some sort of a jazzy blue. We can kind of, again, it's that additive color where as we roll over it again and again, we get different ranges of colors appearing. Really nice. For me, it's like this could teach you about a design process or color theory or stuff like that, because it's adding colors to this. So you kind of get a blue green. It's mixing colors together. So it's really.
The skin is out of control.
I know, right? What is going on? Let's have a look at your skins. I haven't seen yours for a while. Nice.
I feel pretty good about mine.
Yours is perfect. Excellent.
I really like that, adding like that black and then lowering the opacity and then being able to like shade in multiple shades. It's been a game changer for us, because I think it speeds things up a million times, and you don't get that anywhere else. There are not really those kind of tools in any other kind of skin creator package that I've seen. Your hair looks really good, because it's kind of, it's got kind of Other than I could use more of it.
Don't we all? I mean,
But
apart from Steve.
I think that's a pretty common problem for me. So let's see what Steve's looks like. Oh, Steve, you got some work to do, friend.
Wait, no. Well, I got excited about putting it into Minecraft. So
right. Yeah. Absolutely. So I mean, so I'm going back to shape. And we're creating kind of crazy things in shape, doing that kind of stuff. I like this stuff, and I'll show you some of the other. I'll show you what I've been working on before in a bit, and I'll show you what's possible with Blockbench. And this was before. I mean, I'll show you, and I'll explain why it looks a bit different as well. Right, so that's draw shape, and again we've got size and we've got opacity. The next thing is something called copy paste tool, and this is where things get crazy. So in the way this Blockbench is worked out, and I'm not sure if this will work on the web version, so do please, Mike, try it out. If you roll over one of these edges, we can click and we should be able to drag these spaces around.
Yep, that works.
Awesome. So we can open up our UV of our texture, and we can go to our copy paste tool, and we can kind of click and drag an object or a kind of space, and we've got a range of things we can do. I've now copied it, and I can drag this around, and I can put it back. I've got some tools, so I could cut it, I could mirror it, I could flip it, and I can rotate it. And when I'm happy, I click the tick and it places it. And it's really, like I can do this, and I can put it up here. I can flip it around, and I can kind of do exactly the same. Take that down there, flip it, and click it, and auto updates on top. It looks absolutely insane. It's brilliant.
Wild.
It is pretty wild. It's good, for example, if you've done one leg and you don't want to have to do the other leg. Yeah, exactly. You're just like, oh man, I've spent all this time perfecting that perfect leg on one side. I want to copy that leg and put it over here, but I'm going to have to flip it, make sure that it's, so basically these are these tools that allow us to do that kind of stuff really quickly. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
The reason I make a kind of a crazy mustached, multicolored kind of pastel person is because I want to encourage people to scribble, make a mess, try new things. Don't be that precious when you first start. Yeah. Because then you might get disappointed, or you might think, "Oh, this is not right bad." Be playful with this kind of stuff if it's the first time, especially when you're in a new digital environment. Yeah, if you can afford to be playful, and you can afford to just muck around and get messy, get scribbly, kind of get try things out, try new things out. Then it gives you a better scope when you want to kind of actually think, now I want to do this, or now I want to do that. So then you'll have a plan, and you might start with what I always start with is a sketchbook. Yeah, that's really great advice. I know for myself, I struggle with feeling like I don't have the artistic, anything. So this gives me a little liberty to feel like, all right, I'll just play around, and I get cool. Yeah, totally. I think that's the strongest advice we could get is get scribbly, get messy, get creative, and don't worry about it so much, because it's that worry that impinges our creativity and our, especially when we don't feel like we're artists, or we could never do that kind of thing. It's this is digital mark making at its essential, and you can I'm giving you permission to make a mess.
Now, and interestingly, with Blockbench, if you were to go, in order to, I know you can change mobs and things like that as well. Do you just pull those files, and I guess there's a lot more to it because then you're ending up making either a behavior pack or a resource pack at that point.
Yeah, you've got to, you're making, if you want to make something like that, you can kind of, let's go back to our start over here. And we could have it like a bedrock model. I'm just going to discard that. And we can kind of call this, whatever we want to call it and confirm it. And then we can kind of start by, start a scratch, and we can add a cube, and we can kind of start changing those cubes around. Another way would be to, and we can kind of build stuff from there. Another way would be to open a model up, a Bedrock entity generator. So we could start with something like a dolphin, and we can kind of start changing the dolphin and the look of it and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's something that is very complicated, and weirdly enough, there aren't enough. Gentle Giant would be the person I would turn to for that kind of stuff, to show you stuff, or Dragnos maybe as another creator. Dragnos would be an excellent person to show you how to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe we can get him on. I know Clever Light also does a lot with
Clever Light. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I mean, he would be perfect, and I think he's done some stuff for you anyway, hasn't he? And for
but we haven't talked to Dragnos in a while. That would be fun.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, and Dragnos. I mean, we're all trapped inside at the moment. Dragnos is trapped in Spain. So it'd be really interesting. So good.
At least we can do is play video games, right?
Yeah, yes. Exactly. I mean, just to sort of let people know, if we got, I'm going to show you the other, the traditional kind of model. So let's create a new skin. If we went for a 6x16 skin, it looks like that. I mean, that's how big your kind of traditional Minecraft skin is, and you can see how small those pixels are. It's quite. Which is why I kind of like, the new skins. We can kind of do.
Oh, that's cool.
Do really cool things. Let's make a blue person, an underwater. Very, very kind of pixely. Just a lot of fun. So I'm going to show you some of the other kind of work I've done. So I've got a skin pack coming out on the 31st. Where are we now? 23rd. For Wandering Wizards. Open. Let's just go back to my start thing here.
I see. I'm sorry. I have one quick question because Lynn brought this up.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed it. Can we use these models as NPCs and just import them, or would that also kind of take it a step more complicated?
I think. Yeah. I mean, apparently you can. Yeah. But again, you would need to change. You need to use a resource pack within Education Edition, which we do. But right. I'm not. And again, the person to ask about resource packs and Education Edition and how to change NPCs look and sometimes behavior would be Dragnos. Yeah.
All right.
He'd be the perfect.
You hear that, Dragnos? I think you're being volunteered.
I know. The poor. He's like, no, Adam. No. Why? I mean, Dragnos and his whole family at home, so he's like we all. I mean, I homeschool anyway, so for us,
right,
it's pretty good. But I think if you've got, if suddenly all your family are home, I think it can be, it can be quite stressful. But yeah, so this is one of my B-bots. So I've been making a skin pack called B-bots. And we've got one like that. So here's another kind of tip that while we're here, we can kind of look at it. So if I want to change that skin, I can go down to my textures down here and I can right click it and I can say change file. And then I can navigate to my Bebop skin pack and I can click on a new skin and open it up. And then which is exactly the same skin I used before. All right. Change file. Let's go down here. And we can see we've got a new kind of skin. So if we want to, so we've created one before, we can always change our file, and we can kind of see how it looks. So if I were to look at this on Bedrock.
So Adam, while you're doing that, can you clarify the files, like the 16 by 16, 60? Like I saw that was 128 by 128. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you can choose, like, are those selections set for you in Blockbench? Like when I click on new, and then I want a Bedrock model.
So as far as I'm, let me show you. I think it's worth pointing out, right? Yeah. So let's do this, okay?
Because it actually, like, it's just like a ticker that goes up, but I assume that there's specific. So
yeah, no. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you because it. So we're gonna start off with a times 16 resolution. Confirm, right?
Oh, I see.
Okay, and now I'm gonna save this. And I'm going to say not there. I'm going to say that I'm going to say this is Steve times 16. Save it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to get another one. Okay, and we're going to go to 32. Confirm. And we're going to save that as Steve 32. 32. Okay. Now we're going to go a little bit higher, which I never actually do, and you'll see. Perhaps we'll see why. So we're going to go skin. We're going to go to 64. Confirm. It's kind of crazy. We're going to save it anymore. Okay, 64. And save that. And now we're going to do it again. Skin. We're going to go 128. Confirm that. Oh my God, it's crazy. Okay.
Wow.
And 128, wasn't it? 128.
Yeah.
Save. Let's open up Photoshop and we're going to take a look at each of those flat, right, and see what's going on. And we're also going to look at them in Photoshop in Bedrock as well. So file, open, Wizard.
When you're designing those detailed skins, while you design those detailed skins that you were just showing us, do you do them in that Blockbench program, or do you do them in Photoshop?
I tend to do them in Blockbench to start off with, because that gives me a sense of what it's going to look like. And then before Blockbench had this copy and paste thing, I used to bring it into Photoshop to swap the left arm to the right arm and all that kind of stuff. But now I can do that all in Blockbench itself. So in a way, I find it easier to see things in 3 dimensions and to work on them like this, rather than flip backwards. And Photoshop, you see, this is what Photoshop looks like. It's difficult to know where things are.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the labels for what is the head and what.
I mean, you can get labels and you can see things, but even with the labels, it's difficult to kind of really understand what's going on. So if we look at our 16 by 16, right? I'm going to say image size. It's 64 by 64.
Right.
Okay. So where are we getting the 16 from, do you think?
It's the width of the... That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, because the head width is 8, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's the answer. I'm just wondering out loud. Like if we go to the 32 and I go image,
I bet you it's 64 by 64.
Image size, it's 128. If we go to 64, the image size is 256. And then the Steve 128, the image size is 512.
Interesting.
Okay. So that's that. Okay. So these are the two that I know work in Bedrock. So let's try Steve 64 in Bedrock. Okay. And import, choose a skin. Steve 64 open. And there we go.
Ha,
Okay.
Oh,
you
only
silly guy.
So 32 is the only one that actually works.
Yeah, so it only goes up,
Well,
right?
16 would work too, right?
Like you could, but in
Java.
I don't know. I've got a feeling Java might have a go at it, but again, I don't know. Where have we gotten to? Here we go. So the only ones that work in here are going to be oops, that's all. In your skins are going to be 16 and 32.
Interesting.
But weirdly enough, that doesn't describe the size of the final texture. It describes something else, and I know.
Can you convert backwards? Like if you decided to make it 64 for some reason, can you then save it as 32 or 16? I don't.
Oh yeah, you can convert down. So you can take it into Photoshop. You can copy that. You can push it into here. You can paste it into there, and then you can nearest neighbors. You're going to be your best bet in terms of interpolation, and then you can kind of push it down.
But the smart thing to do would be just realize
so there's that, and then it does that. It does, as you can see. That's the original size, and that's the one without, and something is going wrong. Right.
I have another question. In Blockbench, I'm looking at, like, for example, it says body, and then it says body and body. So body is the folder, and then body and body layer.
Yeah. So everything.
So what's the difference between those two? And so I figured out that like it didn't when I exported it, it didn't read like if I turned off that body layer.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm not sure what the difference is between the two and why you need two items there.
Yeah. So here's the reason. So I've got here's my B-bots, yeah.
Yeah.
And I made this model before Blockbench had their own kind of created their own. So I've got left arm, right arm, left sleeve, right sleeve. So I'm going to turn off the outer layers and the jacket, and I've got hat. And so that's what it looks like without the top layer on. So if we put a body back on, the jacket back on, you can kind of see it's like a bit of armor. So we can kind of see through it. We can kind of see underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look into what that looks like in Beat Wilds, get there eventually. Content, skin pack. That looks like this. And let's just go down, and you can kind of see that it gives the player a kind of almost a 3D-ness. You can see on the elbows there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of see back behind it as well. It gives a kind of a 3D effect for the player, so you kind of get this kind of almost exterior interior kind of effect.
Now, so what if you didn't need that though?
Well, if it doesn't matter. I mean, I think that is where that is. You always go for the outer layer is the answer.
Okay, yeah.
So because the outer layer is always going to be
the default.
It's going to be the default, yeah. So always go for the outer layer, or make that outer layer invisible. You know. I mean, one of the nice things is you might make the outer layer completely invisible and just use it for like shades or kind of things that you want to sit on top of the underneath layer.
Got it.
Now, is it me or is it fairly new that you can that easily bring new skins into Bedrock? Because I remember in the past Java.
Yeah, the way to bring things into Java is that you need to go to the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need to upload them that way. Whereas this way you can do it kind of you can do it any way you want. My son has been playing around with it where he's deleted his whole body and he's just a head.
Nice. And then another question is, do we know, can you import them as easily in Education Edition?
Yeah, Education Edition is It is a big no-no, and I think yeah. You can change those skins internally, but you're gonna need to, again, you only need to change that with a resource pack or something like that.
Got it.
And that's there's historical reasons for that.
I understand.
Stephen Reed is watching the stream, and I imagine he might have some insight in.
Yeah, he probably got a better idea. So kind of maybe,
I'm guessing the whole idea of control over what.
And I think if you let, if you let kids do whatever they want, they can, it's gonna get ugly really quickly.
Yes, unfortunately.
Whereas we're in a kind of creative environment anyway, and I think that's kind of one of the cool things.
I mean, let's be honest. You could really see the value in being able to design your own skins in Education Edition, so that kids could like craft like narratives or whatever, and have and then also do the skin design so that they could, have a more immersive kind of world that they're
quite
making.
Honestly, a lot of the concerns we would have about the potential, of what these skins might be can happen right in the world in terms of what people build. So I think we have to. I totally agree, and I think that's something that Microsoft are, that's something you guys can you can bring it up with them in terms of that, because for me as a home educator and a kind of an educator as general, I like, it's those kind of problems that I think are real life problems about online behavior, kind of, things like that, things that we should actually be tackling head on, in terms of, content creation, because, we live in a world where there's TikTok. We live in a world where, people are creating content all the time on their phones, on their devices. They're sharing this stuff out there. And if they get early lessons in appropriateness, or kind of what bullying might look like, or there's all that kind of the sticky icky stuff, then I think what we get wholesome digital citizens at the end of the day, which is going to be really, really powerful and really useful for as a learning thing for everybody. Sure. So again, let us teach it in an authentic environment that's so real to these kids. So
totally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very
so
cool.
I think that's kind of it. I'm going to shut that down. Do you want to see anything else while we're
yes?
Got time? What do you want?
We never mind going a little over, but I would love to see. You were showing us some cool stuff before. If you're able to show that to our viewers, that would be incredible.
Sure. So I've got a dinosaur map that we're currently working on, and we're going to be putting it out to the marketplace shortly. It's oops, that's the wrong one. Let's pop it in again. So it's the Dino with a capital D. And this has been a little map that I've been making with my wife, and a few other people as well. And it's called Alphabet Dino Coaster. And it's really designed for when I look at the marketplace, I noticed that a lot of the maps were designed for kids who are a little bit older, and I wanted to design a map for like kind of quite young 5-6-year-old that's kind of more, when my son was 5 or 6, he was mad for dinosaurs, so I've kind of made this dinosaur map here, and it's a roller coaster ride, and you get to visit loads of different dinosaurs, and there's a little poem in there as well about, and it's, A is for ankylosaur and B is for brachiosaur, etc., etc. So let's get a minecart and I'll show you a little bit of it. Cart. And the nice thing about this is as well, we've got, so the I've been helped, there's a couple of my friends, my son's kids who helped build the boat, and and we got, we've all kind of chipped in. There's a friend of mine who made the dinosaurs, who kind of offered the dinosaurs, and I commissioned a little bit of the dinosaurs as well. So each area we've got a letter, and you'll be able to have a book, and you'll be able to read the book or listen to the audio. And I'm recording the audio this afternoon. the poetry. You can also wander around some of these kind of creatures. These are ankylosaurs. And it's really designed for people to kind of have fun with, kind of go on a little roller coaster ride on whatever device they've got, and enjoy themselves, and maybe learn something. But it's supposed to be more, fun, as well as, and for those people who really love dinosaurs, like me. So we'll just pop up, and I'll show you a little bit of the map as well. And this will be our first. So this is so we've got a little company that my wife and I are kind of working, called the Wizard and the Wild. So here's our Diplodocuses, Podocuses, however you want to say it. And the world, as you notice, is in the shape of a giant Tyrannosaurus skull as well.
Wow.
So there's, I'm happy to kind of come back and do a world building to, chat with you as well, like how to make some of this stuff. Because although it looks kind of, incredible and kind of difficult, some of it's actually not that difficult.
Wow.
Some of it's actually fairly straightforward. It's just a matter of knowing the tools and how to kind of manipulate this stuff and how to get it in to use. And one of the kind of really interesting things is, I use something called MC Edit quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And MC Edit still works for Minecraft Education Edition, whereas for Minecraft Bedrock, the new version of Bedrock, because it's been updated, it's sort of stopped working for Bedrock.
That's too bad.
Yeah. The way we work it is I actually start life. When I make stuff, I actually start making stuff on Minecraft 1.12.2 on Java, and we've got a build server. This is Java. And this is another map that I'm making currently. It's a little island with some giant shells on.
Looks a little familiar.
So we got some little shells in here.
That's cool.
So these are quite nice. So I'll make that, and I've got all these tools. For example, I've got one tool called Go Paint or Go Brush, and it allows me to it allows me to paint very quickly kind of patterns like this, or on the floor you might see that the grass is made up of two types of one concrete block, one kind of what's this one, terracotta, and some green grass as well. I can kind of spray that on the ground, and my brush tool allows me to kind of create stuff really quickly. So I'll take it from there, and then I might, once I've created it in Java, I can then use I use MCC Tool Chest to convert it from Java into Bedrock. And what another thing is, I can actually convert sometimes. Like I want to convert from Bedrock into Minecraft Education Edition, just so I can kind of use MC Edit to kind of manipulate things as well. And so we can kind of have all these kind of different tools. So a lot of it is like, I call it sort of digital alchemy. It's about transforming one thing into another and kind of go backwards and forwards with this kind of stuff.
Well, Steve and I have some pretty big plans in the works for next week's streaming stuff. Yeah. We're working on it already. So maybe we get you back next week to do a stream on world building, because I'm super interested in that stuff too.
Yeah.
I've never made a skin before until today.
That's awesome. Exactly. I think skins are underrated, I think, in lots of ways, because they can do so many things. They can be about something about they can identify who you are, all this kind of stuff. It's going to be amazing.
So I enjoyed that a lot. Thank you so much. That was
my pleasure.
This was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, and thanks everybody for watching and continuing to watch. And Adam, yes, I did 100% Mike's request to have you on next week. Maybe we even shoot for the same time next week, if that works for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay.
All right.
No worries.
That's
all right.
awesome.
Cool.
So much fun. Thank you so much.
Take care.
I really appreciate you. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks everyone for
Great.
joining us.
Yeah, thank you everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.